Gadget's field trip.
We're going on a visit.
Inspector Gadget's field trip.
Come on, let's go with him.
Inspector Gadget's field trip.
What's that, you ask? What is it?
Inspector Gadget's field trip.
Well, no one wants to miss it.
Inspector Gadget's field trip.
We're going on a visit.
Inspector Gadget's field trip.
Come on, let's go with him.
New places, new faces. Inspector Gadget's field trip.
Inspector Gadget's field trip.
Inspector Gadget here, high-stepping the mountainous pyramids of Giza in Egypt. Wowzers, these pyramids are wonderful. No wonder. They're the only surviving wonders of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. It's time to investigate this curious place and many other Egyptian treasures. So bring your mummies and your daddies as we go Gadget Field Trip. Egypt is nestled between the Mediterranean Sea and the Red Sea in the northeast corner of Africa. Wowzers! Most of Egypt is made up of desert. That's why nearly all of Egypt's 62 million people live in a small area of the country along the banks of the Nile, the world's longest river. Egypt's capital city is Cairo, home to 7 million people. Egypt's famous ancient civilization began about 5,000 years ago. Egyptian kings and queens ruled the land as early as 3100 BC. These supreme rulers left behind some colossal monuments which are still standing today. But if you ask them, they'd much rather sit. In ancient Egypt, it was believed that people went on to another life after they died. So, dying was almost as big a deal as living. The pyramids are kind of like gigantic tombstones built for the pharaohs. Just outside of Cairo, in Saqqara, you can visit the very first pyramid ever built. It's called the Step Pyramid, and it was constructed around 2600 BC as part of a whole complex built in honor of King Zoser. Thousands of workers constructed this 200-foot pyramid by stacking layer upon layer of stone. Talk about a tomb with a view. King Zoser's body was buried in a chamber 80 feet below this 6-layer pyramid. My keen detective sense has led us to the tomb's secret entrance. Well, I guess the secret got out. Hey, is that Zoser? He looks a little stone-faced to me. There's trouble in this rubble. Let's get out of here. Zoser's Step Pyramid paved the way for even larger pyramids to come. Just outside of Cairo are the famous pyramids of Giza. Wowzers! Enormous blocks of limestone, some weighing more than 5,000 pounds, were used to make the pyramids. But how did the workers stack these colossal stones? One theory is that the stones were dragged up a gigantic ramp which was built alongside the pyramid. Another idea is that the workers pull the stones up a wraparound ramp. A third idea is that they have no idea. No wonder it took 20 years. Not even the strongest pharaoh could lift this mysterious Egyptian monument. What could it be? It has the body of a lion with really long paws and the head of a man wearing a royal headdress. It's about the length of a city block, the height of a 6-story building, and is at least 4,500 years old. Give up? It's called the Sphinx, and it's one of the great mysteries of Egypt. In Egyptian mythology, the lion was said to be a guardian of sacred places and a symbol of kingship. The Sphinx's head was that of a pharaoh, and some believe the Sphinx represented superhuman powers. No one knows for sure the exact story behind the Sphinx. Some of these secret passageways inside the Great Pyramid aren't so great. In fact, they're so small, workers had to crawl through them just to get to the pharaoh's burial chamber. Sahida from Egypt. That means hello in Egyptian Arabic. I wonder how you say it's time to investigate the incredible city of Cairo. That sounds good enough to me. Go, go, Gadget, Camelmobile. Cairo isn't just Egypt's largest city, it's also the largest city in all of Africa. Cairo is a unique mix of both ancient and modern life. But whether it's new or old, you can be sure to find just about anything you're looking for at the Cairo Bazaar. Egyptian artists have passed their traditions down for generations. This craftsman is carefully tapping copper into a beautiful brass tray. And this bizarre craftsman is practicing the art of balancing a bundle on his head. Don't make any sudden moves. This guy's got a lot on his mind. I wonder if that pita bread tastes as good as it smells. Another sweet smell is just around the corner. It's time to follow our noses to Cairo's famous perfume factories. That's the way it goes when you follow your noses. Ancient Egyptian women used to wear perfume in cones on top of their heads, which would slowly melt as the day wore on. Needless to say, these sweet-smelling cone heads didn't smell as sweet on cloudy days. Much of what we know about ancient Egyptians is from what they left behind in their well-decorated tombs. Thousands of these incredible discoveries can be found in Cairo's Egyptian Antiquities Museum. So let's go, Gadget King Tut Strut. I'm here to investigate the whereabouts of King Tutankhamun, also known as King Tut, the boy pharaoh. But all I see are some mummies. I want my daddy. To make a mummy, the ancient Egyptians would place the body on tables like this one and remove the organs, including the brains. The organs were stored in canopic jars like these. The heart was one of the only organs left in the body. After all, who wants a heartless mummy? The body would then be wrapped in gauze bandages and placed in a colorful coffin. If you were really important, your coffin would be placed in a sarcophagus. If you were really, really important, the sarcophagus would be placed in another sarcophagus. I wonder which lucky mummy lounged in these sarcophagi. Wowzers! It's Tut! King Tut! It was his coffin that was found inside the sarcophagi. I think I've cracked the case of the missing boy Pharaoh. Or at least I've struck gold. This is incredible. King Tut's coffin is made of solid gold. His likeness is pictured on the outside holding a royal scepter and wearing a collar of multicolored stones. And inside the coffin was even more gold. A golden death mask was placed upon King Tut's mummified head and shoulders. And 143 amulets and pieces of jewelry were found in the bandages wrapped around Tut's body. Wowzers! Tut did pretty well for himself, considering he became king when he was just 9 or 10 years old. And now an Inspector Gadget field trip fact. Tutankhamun was one of Egypt's youngest known pharaohs, but he only ruled Egypt for less than 10 years. Tut died of unknown causes 3,000 years ago, when he was just 18 or 19 years old. Inspector Gadget here, investigating the mysteries of belly dancing. Actually, I'm just trying to loosen up my mysteriously stiff gadgets. I don't even think I have a belly button for belly dancing. It's time to leave modern Cairo and its belly dancers and travel back in time across the Nile River into the belly of Pharaonic Egypt. The Pharaonic period was when pharaohs ruled Egypt and Egypt's ancient civilization was in high gear. It all began about 5,000 years ago in the year 3100 BC. Wowzers! Are we in a time capsule? At Dr. Ragab's Pharaonic village near Cairo, you can experience what Egyptian life was really like over 3,000 years ago. Aha! This must be the ancient way of fishing. Ouch! I wouldn't want to be a fish in that water. This is how Egyptians made perfume, wove fabrics, and painted reliefs on their temple walls. What a relief! Now I know how fire was made. Pre-matchbook, of course. Dear Chief, greetings from Egypt. Oh, hello. I'm here taking a little postcard break with the village scribe. But how do you describe a scribe? In Pharaonic Egypt, it was the scribe's job to record everything that happened in order to report back to the king. A scribe even had his own library. But instead of bookshelves, he had cubbyholes filled with scrolls of papyrus. And he used writing utensils like these. I wonder if his mummy was the librarian. Scribes often wrote on paper called papyrus. Papyrus is just about everywhere in Egypt. Papyrus plants grow along the banks of the Nile River. Making papyrus paper is an ancient Egyptian art. First, the plants are harvested, and the reeds are cut into slim strips. The strips are laid out symmetrically and pounded so that the natural glue in the plant bonds the strips together. It's pressed under a stone for 6 days and, ta-da! Paper fit for a pharaoh. Now, if I could just find my papyrus pen. Oh, scribe! Investigate the mystery of the hieroglyph. Oh, hello again. I was just reading my top-secret message from the chief on papyrus, of course. But it's written in hieroglyphics, so I can't quite understand it. There's never a scribe around when you need one. It's time to crack the code of the hieroglyphics. For more than 1,500 years, it was almost impossible to understand the ancient hieroglyphic symbols that were written all over Egypt. The clue that cracked the case was on a hunk of black rock called the Rosetta Stone, found in Egypt in 1799. On the stone, the same exact message was written in 3 languages: Greek, hieroglyphics, and a 3rd Egyptian language. Since scholars understood the meaning of the Greek words, they were able to figure out what the hieroglyphics meant. Like magic, the word Cleopatra and lots of other Egyptian symbols were translated into words. This meant a celebration and a feast. This is a warrior standing over his defeated enemy. And this must have been an Egyptian line dance. I can do that. But what does this mean? Today there are about 800 different hieroglyphic symbols, and they can be written right to left, left to right, or top to bottom. Just don't write them upside down. Wowzers! This must be the rest of the Sphinx family. You know, relatives of Mr. Sphinx from the Giza pyramids. This avenue of sphinxes is actually quite a ways up the Nile from Giza, about 620 miles. Let's explore this sandy street. These colossal statues, colossal columns, and colossal obelisks are all part of the colossally cool Temple of Karnak. Over the course of nearly 1,500 years, each new pharaoh added his own personal touch to this elaborate temple. It was the most impressive temple in all of Egypt. Karnak's hypostyle hall looks like a forest of columns, 134 in all. In fact, some of these columns were 75 feet high and 49 feet around. They were so huge that it took 6 people with outstretched arms to encircle each one. I guess column hugging was big in those days. The decorated columns once supported a stone slab roof. Wowzer! Looks like these columns could support anything they want. Just down the avenue of the Sphinxes is the Temple of Luxor. Boy, these pharaohs really tried to outdo each other. Would you believe that just 100 years ago, this temple was buried under stone and rubble? So what did they uncover at Luxor? You guessed it, more massive columns, huge statues, and pointy obelisks. And if you're the type that likes looking at the pictures instead of reading, there are plenty of hieroglyphics to enjoy. Riding a camel is a great way to get around Egypt. Horses and buggies aren't bad either. But the only way to travel up and down the River Nile is by boat. Egyptian sailboats are called feluccas. For thousands of years, Egyptians have been feluccaing up and down the Nile. The Nile is the life force of Egypt. For thousands of years, Egyptians have invented clever ways of pumping and diverting the Nile water to irrigate their crops. To measure the levels of the Nile water, Egyptians have been using a handy gadget called a Nilometer. This is one gadget I don't have. I don't think it would fit in my trench coat. As the water rushed in from the river through these chambers, The column in the center here would measure the height of the flow. Looks like the river rose higher than a sphinx's toes. Well, as the sun sets over the river, it's so long Nile and so long Egypt. I hope you had a good time poking around the pyramids, careening with the camels, strutting with King Tut, boogieing with the belly dancers, and flying by in the feluccas. Until next time, go, Gadget Field Trip.